The Ninth Doctor is back. Christopher Eccleston is starring in a brand new series of Big Finish Audio Productions with Billie Piper as Rose Tyler. Today we're going to be looking at the first two releases in that series, along with the three-parter Dark Gallifrey Master, written by Lizzie Hopley and starring Eric Roberts, one of my personal favorite masters. On top of that, we're going to be looking at Sea Smoke and Other Stories, the Halloween special that had just released a couple of days ago. So first up, we have Snare and Last Days of the Powell Estate. We're going to be getting into spoilers in this video, so if you'd like to know my general thoughts on them, they're great. You know, go and listen to them if you have the means and the money. If you're a fan of the Ninth Doctor, you're not going to be disappointed. As always, Christopher Eccleston is a gem. Billie Piper does an amazing job, and Camille Coduri, I love her. She's great in all of the Big Finish audios that I've heard her in, and she always brings her A game to the story, so yeah, I really enjoyed it a lot. That's my non-spoiler telling of it. I'm not going to get into anything else other than saying they're really good there, so getting into the spoilers, obviously, we'll start with Snare. Obviously, I would say really strong characterization for the Ninth Doctor. He plays the role exactly how you remember he did in the 2005 series there, and he's done great in the previous three series for Big Finish. Also, I own all of them, and he is just like I said, he's a gem. Christopher Eccleston has still got it. I hope that one day we can see his return to the television series. This is more than enough to scratch that itch, no doubt. Snare is a really interesting story. For the first episode in the series, it's not bad. I do think it may be a little bit generic, especially for Tim Foley maybe. Like I said, it's just my opinion. It's really good. It's just baseline. You're not going to get surprised by any means. It was the second story, Last Days of the Powell Estate, that really made this set stand out to me. You know, it's already the second story. We're still at Jackie and Rose's home, and the next one, Darry, is going to take place there as well. But it does something a lot more interesting. We go to the year 2036, and there's a creature that essentially can exist in both 2006 and 2036. And because of that, you have Jackie and Betty in the present day, 2006, and the Doctor and Rose and this other character. The Doctor and Rose team up with this young guy who's like a urban explorer, essentially, and they have to fight off this entity that's only known as Mr. Fingers. This release especially feels like it was almost time for Halloween because it is a little bit creepier, not in a serious way. It's nothing scary, or it doesn't reach anything like Spare Parts. But it's definitely a little bit spookier, you know. I liked Betty, Brainy Betty. She was a really cool side character for the present day. I wonder if there's not something going on with her just because she did seem really smart. She knew a lot, so I wonder if she's not a character that they won't have come back in the future, or in the next one even. I don't know. Snare. It's not bad. It's really interesting. The visuals I imagined, obviously, for like the altered apartment state, it was interesting to me to think about, at least. You know what I mean? Like, it's not the craziest story by any means, but it's definitely really good. It was, like I said, Last Days of the Powell Estate that stood out a little bit more to me just because of the entity that was in it, and the side characters were a little bit more interesting to me. Kevin just fell a little flat to me. I'll be honest, I can't even remember the side character's name in this that actually travels with the Ninth Doctor and Rose in 2036. But he's still a lot more interesting as a character than Kevin, and he dies. Technically not, because causality, obviously. He'll never go to the Powell Estate because it's not haunted. You know, Steve, back in 2006, he's still dead in the past because they can't undo that. I will say that Billie Piper does an amazing job slipping right back into the role of Rose. She was Rose in the Dimension Canon series, obviously, and she's gonna be the 16th Doctor, at least for one special life. I think she is the Doctor, whether or not it is just for one special for Russell T Davies to fix his whole mess with the 15th Doctor's era. is yet to be seen, obviously. And if it ends up being the TARDIS or whatever, I don't know. It could be a result of bi-generation, obviously. Regardless, I know she's going to do an amazing job in the role, so I have full faith in Billie Piper, and she still brings her A game to the role of Rose. Same as Christopher Eccleston, of course. You can't ever go wrong with the guy. He is just a firecracker. He's still just as snarky as he always was, and doesn't sound like he's aged a day. It's really great stuff. So, Eric Roberts is one of my favorite incarnations of the Master just because of the Big Finish audio series, obviously. I mean, I like him as an actor anyways, but him in the 1996 film, he's a lot of fun. I think that Eric Roberts definitely brought a different layer to the Master that wasn't explored as much. Sadistic side of him, where he's just ready to kill people with his hands, you know what I mean? He's that monster. He just brings a certain slyness to the Master that does, you know, the Big Finish series with him, there's a lot of focus on Vienna, and so you don't get as many great moments as you should with him. Eric Roberts, like I said, brings so much to the role. He's really interesting, and I think that Dark Gallifrey is an interesting concept. I haven't picked up any of the other releases other than just Master parts 1 through 3. Having listened to them now, I will say that, again, he's very underutilized. I want a story with Eric Roberts' Master where he's front and center and he gets to be maniacally evil, because in part 3, you get that finally. He's just there and he gets to be his true self. He's not trying to hide anymore who he really is, and it is, like I said, just so great. He is so much fun to listen to, and when the 8th Doctor shows up, obviously, and they fight, it's too brief. Like, it's really good, but it's really just too short, and then it feels like you follow all these side characters. Well, they're not even side. The main characters in this story are these students from Gallifrey, and they go on this mission. They're led by the Master, obviously, in disguise. And he wants them to torture this girl. He wants them to create Mother Quiver, who's this ancient Time Lord fairy tale. She's this evil demonic thing, right? It's ultimately revealed that the Master is trying to create a dissonant, a Time Lord with a split personality, like the Collective, you know, 11, 12 from Time War, and the 6th Doctor, 8th Doctor, all of that. The Time Lords that have multiple minds living in their own because they can't control that many psyches. Their mind breaks, essentially. You can't create one, but the Master is trying to, and he supposedly does with one of these students that he convinces the other students to torture and bury alive. It's terrifying stuff, but like I said, the biggest problem with it, I thought, ultimately, was that the ending of the 3rd part, the first 2 parts take up so much time establishing everything that's happened before, that the 3rd part does not give you long enough for a resolution with any of the characters. So the 8th Doctor shows up and the Master and him have a fight, like a duel, and the Master loses, obviously, but he's able to escape. He gets away. He doesn't get captured by the 8th Doctor, but he attacks 2 of the main characters that had just escaped danger earlier, essentially. And so what happens to them? I don't know. I don't know if it's going to be resolved in another Dark Gallifrey release, maybe. If it is, I'd be really interested in getting that, because those side characters, like Gamara and Cylindra and Torlis and Borin and all of those guys, they're really cool characters. I did like them. They're just original characters for this, like I said. If there is a resolution, then I don't know when it will come out or if it will come out, because those side characters, their story just ends when the story ends, and it's just all like, okay, there's like the 8th Doctor, like the Master leaves, and then the 8th Doctor is just like, shit, and then that's it. So I don't know. I did like it, like I said. I mean, great performances all around. Eric Roberts does amazing. Paul McGann, don't have to say, he's always great. Really good series, but kind of just a flat ending. when it was set up. It could have just been extended a little bit longer, just take away a little bit from earlier, have the Eighth Doctor show up earlier, and it would have been great. But it just felt like, I said, there's a build-up and the climax, and then right as the resolution is starting to begin, it just gets cut off completely. It's kind of weird. I like the idea of having these smaller miniseries, but yeah, I just wish that we could have another main series master release with Eric Roberts and have it focus more heavily on the master, because that's what I want out of it. Sea Smoke and Other Stories. This is probably the best one that I've heard out of each of these so far, simply because it's a complete box set. It's 4 separate stories, all Halloween themed in one way or another, just spooky stories, you know what I mean. They're all great. I loved them. I loved every single one. Starting with Sea Smoke, it's the First Doctor and Dodo. Stephen Noonan playing the First Doctor. I'm a David Bradley guy personally. I love his First Doctor adventure series. Stephen Noonan, it's hard for me to get past the voice, because where David Bradley doesn't necessarily, where he doesn't sound 100% like William Hartnell, he does have the spirit of the character down. And listening to this, I realize Stephen Noonan does as well. It's just that I think I'm more biased towards David Bradley because I'm more familiar with him as an actor. Stephen Noonan does a fine job as the First Doctor in the story, and Lauren Cornelius as Dodo is amazing. She really kills it in this story. I loved that they were pretending to be traitors. They were treating Dodo like she was the First Doctor's granddaughter, of course, and that she had to do everything that he said she had to, obviously, because of the time period. But then the actual creature was really interesting. Obviously reminded me of a couple of different aliens and monsters from throughout the series, but ultimately the way that it's defeated is standard. Obviously the monster causing its own demise, but I thought that the way the creature infected people and took them over had an element of The Thing to it. I thought it was really quite disturbing, obviously, to listen to, and I thought it was a lot of fun. Obviously a sentient version of The Thing, but the plan to absorb an entire island's populace and use them to fuel your ship to lift yourself into space, totally insane as a concept. Kind of reminds me of Boomtown, also the 9th Doctor episode, so in a way, obviously not 100% the same, but similar idea. Party Favors was the Unit story. Don't really care for Unit. This one, 10 out of 10. The story was amazing, bringing the Weeping Angels in. I will say the whole gimmick of the angels using human voices after they've died, they do it in Doom Coalition 2 as well, I believe. And it's fine, but it's been a little overplayed at this point, I think. You know, you can do a lot scarier stuff with the Weeping Angels than just the old cliches that we've seen a couple of times at this point. This story, the bad guys win. The Weeping Angels defeat Unit in a way. You know, they get the humans that they want to eat, and then they get the 2 girls that they're gonna have bring people there to feed them forever, and I think that's a really cool, creepy sort of way to end the story, obviously. Not much to say. Osgood and Kate, they did amazing. They're actresses. I really liked them in audio form. Again, like I said, I've never listened to the Unit series, so maybe I'll have to give them a shot, but it was a really good story, and I'd recommend listening to this one as well, especially if you're hesitant, because it is a Unit story and the Doctor's not in it. The Bramble King, 8th Doctor, and Audacity. Audacity is one of the best companions that the 8th Doctor has had, and that's saying a lot because all of his companions are the best, all of them. I can't think of one. Maybe, you know, Kriz was probably the weakest companion out of all of them, but that's more because of the writing and the potential that the character had, as opposed to him not being enjoyable to listen to necessarily. Audacity is just so much fun, and I'm worried that here soon in the 8th Doctor Adventures her time might be coming up, just because I'm trying to think of the name of the release now off the top of my head, but if you read the description for it, it seems like it might be playing a character disappearing, and I don't think it would be Charlie. Big Finish is really scared about giving India Fisher's character any sort of finality, obviously. And so the Bramble King, the Doctor, and Audacity going to help a couple of tree people. I'll have to look it up. I did not look it up. I would assume it's the same species that was in the 2nd episode of the 9th Doctor's series. I could be wrong, obviously, but the way that they were described and the way that their culture was described, it sounded exactly the same, or similar, at least. I thought this one was a lot of fun. I wouldn't say that it was my favorite of the box set. It was probably the weakest, in my opinion, the Bramble King, but again, it's not bad by any means. You have the 8th Doctor and Audacity, like I said, and there's so much fun to listen to. The story being a sort of fairy tale that kids tell themselves, and it manifesting itself because of that fear inside of a child's mind, I think was really cool. I thought that was a lot of fun. And the dad sort of giving up his conscious self to be with his son and protect him was really sweet. Though, again, like I said, probably the weakest in the box set, but not because the quality, but just because it's the least intriguing, the least engaging of the 4, probably. The last one, Merlin's Trap, this was a test for Big Finish with John Coleshaw as the 12th Doctor, and I think he did amazing as the 12th Doctor. This story, again, focuses on a bunch of human characters as opposed to the Doctor, probably because they were just testing out the waters with John Coleshaw. What ends up happening is these kids are they're on an expedition trying to explore parts of a cave that haven't been explored yet, and there's a statue of Merlin with the 12th Doctor's voice telling them to go back, don't come this way. 2 of them specifically are so stubborn that they just want to keep going forward, and it ultimately costs everyone but one of their lives. And the 12th Doctor warns them throughout the story multiple times, and none of them listened to him, and it was easily the most terrifying story out of all of them. Merlin's Trap is probably my favorite, actually. It probably beats out Party Favors, but it's because, again, our characters, they lose. Like, they don't win to see another day. Even the one character that survives is aged horribly. It's like that movie Old by M. Night Shyamalan, you know? And, yeah, I mean, just the 12th Doctor scolding her and humans in general at the ending when she's been through this horrible experience. Again, it's so jarring, and it feels just scary because it's like, if they had listened to the Doctor, then they would have been okay, but they didn't, and like I said, it cost them the ultimate price, and so it was a lot of fun. Obviously, Big Finish has been knocking it out of the park recently with a lot of really great releases, a lot of really cool ideas. In some cases, some backtracking. Obviously, you're going to see a lot of stories that have similar premises. For the most part, I think that they've been doing a really good job at keeping it fresh and giving the fans what they want, which is more than I could ever ask for as a fan of Doctor Who, especially with how the TV show's been going. So, just wanted to get my thoughts out there. Probably not going to be a super in-depth video, but that's okay. I hope you guys enjoy. Have a great day.